Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the local pundit. And look at this. It has been a minute for me, and I have the wrong skin up. I've just changed it. Pundit picks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are up and away. It's been a long break. It felt like a long break. Maybe it's because I've had so much work to do, but the boys have been smashing it out, putting out the shows. Everyone's been back. It's been good to see everybody in there having a chat, which is fantastic. So yeah, and obviously like to welcome everyone in. Hello, Karen. Hey, Danny, Bono, Paul. Good to see you all. I will say even though I only have 6 people in as people start to join, I am going to say one thing. I've got a bit of beef, and it's with Josh. That bloody silly bugger fool, whatever you want to call him, saying we should be sending Harry Ashfield away. How dare he? How dare he say that we should be sending Harry Ashfield away? But in all seriousness, I get his point. It does make some sense, but that doesn't mean I'm going to agree with him. So anyway, just so everybody knows, we are up and away. We're back. We have everything. Yeah, firing Josh. You're right, Paul. Fire Josh. Hashtag save Harry. Yep. Thank you very much, people. Good on you all. But anyway, so, we have a very interesting. Now, I'm just going to bring up the. No, that is not the one I want. I have touching buttons here. I've got to bring up the. Let's see. Do I want to share a screen? Yes, I do. I think I want to share a screen. Here we go. Window. Yep, there it is. Because this is what today is about. Hi, Karma. She's getting ready for work. So we're in, obviously, the footy tip competition is happening. Now, actually, I can't show all the boys my tips for this weekend. Mine are already in there, and that's okay, but I will hide them for the boys, and we'll get into them in a second. So you've just had a quick sneak peek, everybody. They can go back and pause that and have a look, but I'll hide them for now so the boys don't, because obviously it's pretty important right now. 15 rounds in, we're a third of the way through the competition. And I'm just going to say that it's obvious that, the true form has come to the fore with me on 70 points, Paddy on 56, all of South America. Oh, wait up, Aaron on 54, all of South America on 53, John on 52, and Harry all over on 51. I am rooting for Harry all over to move up the table, people, just quietly. But all fun and games, and cannot wait for the league to get back underway. Yeah, very exciting. We have a full round of games this weekend. I've just done the count. We have 10 games between now and New Year's Eve. And on top of that, Ipswich and Blackburn have 11 games. They're going to play their catch-up game from their washed-out game a little while ago. So that's going to be interesting for them. So we basically have, we have 10 games in the space of, let's call it, 40 days. So a game every 4 days is basically what we're playing, every 3 to 4 days, which is pretty crazy. Obviously, Blackburn and Ipswich have to squeeze an extra one in there. So that is going to be tough going for them. But, I am looking forward to it. This league is taking its toll on everybody. It is. It absolutely is. It's a tough league. The boys are having the chat about injuries yesterday, I noticed. Obviously, Wrexham with Gabore being injured, Kakache not doing too great. Seems very susceptible. We're having to manage Hyam, so it is, but we're not the only ones. It's the same for every team. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out for the rest of the season. And yeah, Paul, I am the brains on this podcast. Well, maybe not. But anyway, it's all fun and games, We have a good time. Yeah, so I think that, we've got lots of stuff coming up as I go back in here and I bring up the table. It is pretty crazy with Coventry at the moment on. And let's see, let's go for stop screen, and we'll bring up the table just for now. So I'm going to bring up here we are, the standings. So now, obviously, yeah, can't say more. You're right, Bono. There's a lot of problems, but it's the same for every team. This is just it. Every team has this conversation about players that they're missing right now. I mean, Coventry have had their best start to a season in a long time. So that is great for them, sitting on 34 points, 5 points clear at the top of the league. Highly likely they could lose 2 games and still be top of the league. So, that's good for them. But, they've had, out of their 15 games, they've had 10 wins, 4 draws, and only 1 loss. That was to us. But, 10 wins and 4 draws, a great way to start the season with a 27-goal for and against, which is just amazing. I mean, then you've got Middlesbrough, so the second of the auto-promoted teams at the moment. Obviously, a very long way to go in the season. We aren't even a third of the way. You could call it a third of the way. 46 games in the season. We're 15 games in, so we'll call that a third of the way. Middlesbrough on 29 points. Then we have Stoke on 27, looking pretty good. Preston on 26, who have played very well and have impressed me. I didn't quite think they'd be this high up, and it remains to be seen whether they will finish this high up at the end of the season. I think there's some other teams that might just squeak past them, but not to say that I think Preston's in any trouble. They're going very well. Then you have Hull and Millwall on 25. Millwall, if you think back to a lot earlier in the season, Millwall were well down the bottom, so they've started to come through. And they looked pretty ordinary when we played them at the Den. So, I think they're starting to come good. So I think we got them with the away game at the right time. Then we have Ipswich on 23, who we're playing this weekend at Ipswich. Going to be a very tough game, people. We're playing 7th place. And they have started to find some form with 3 wins and a draw out of their last 4 matches. Then we have Bristol City on 23, Charlton on 23, and Derby on 23. Obviously, the big one for Wrexham and any team, well, Birmingham for that matter, the League One teams from last season, the surprise packet there is Charlton in 9th on 23. And they went pretty well against us away. And, they probably have every right to think that they could have got the draw. Obviously, we got the penalty and scored the goal, thanks to Josh Windass. But, and then, obviously, you slip down to the teams on 21 points, which include us, and you have Birmingham, Leicester, ourselves, and West Brom, all on 21 points, which takes us down to past the halfway part of the table. So, it's interesting. Obviously, Leicester is going to get a points deduction. If it is 12 points, that would drop them all the way to 9 points. And that probably won't happen until January. So they'll be trying to get as many points as they can right now to start pushing their way up the table, with those points really being, it's pretty certain they're going to get some sort of deduction. It's just a matter of how many. Birmingham are playing Norwich this weekend, and, I do expect a big win from the Blues this weekend. They have put a couple of big scores on the board lately. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they go. But Leicester have probably the most interesting game for me this weekend. Leicester are at home to Stoke City, and Stoke up in 3rd, Leicester all the way down in 12th, but they're a much, much better team than that. So that's going to be very interesting. I mean, as we sort of scroll down the table, then we start to hit the bottom half. Watford on 20, QPR on 19, Southampton on 18 with 2 wins in their last 2 games after some pretty terrible form. So that is going to be very tough for them. Jesse, I will get to that in a second. I'll just get to that comment in a second, Jesse. I'll finish this. Swansea obviously on 17, 4 points behind us now, the 2 Welsh teams. Then we have Blackburn Rovers on 16, Portsmouth on 14. We're starting to hit the teams that are really in the danger zone now. Portsmouth 14, Oxford 13, Sheffield United on 10, Norwich on 9, and Sheffield Wednesday on -4. Now, interestingly enough, this weekend, Sheffield Wednesday are at home to Sheffield United. Yeah, so, well, here we go. I'll get into your comment there, Jesse. Hey, Ken, I heard a rumour that you all might be going to a Wrexham game next year. Is that true? If so, could you share some details on how the TLP community can join in on the fun as well? Now, for all of the regular watchers, you will know that I'm a bit of a golf nut as well. So I love my golf. And I am planning to go and watch the Ryder Cup in 2027 in Ireland. So that'll be around September. I don't know the exact date yet. I think the dates are up, but I've just got to check and book my tickets. Then, Jesse, my thoughts on this, and this is me speaking out of turn because I haven't spoken to all the boys yet, but my thoughts on this is obviously I'll check the Wrexham schedule for their games and then plan the flights as soon as the draw comes out for the league that Wrexham are in that year, because we don't know what league they're going to be in. Are they going to be in League One? No. Are they going to be in the Championship? Probably. Are they going to be in the Prem? Well, Josh thinks so. So, yeah, whichever league they are in, come 2027, I'll be checking the draw, and then I'll be planning my trip pre-Ryder Cup or post-Ryder Cup to Wrexham, and at least one other away game. So that is the goal. I'll be going to at least 2 Wrexham games and be trying to plan that as best I can around the Ryder Cup. So, Jesse, to answer your question as best I can, it's going to be sometime around September 2027. So that's not next year, obviously. It's the year after. So you're a year ahead of schedule, Jesse. But I get your enthusiasm. I would want to go I would love to go now, but unfortunately life does get in the way, and it is a very, very long way for me to travel. It is pretty much exactly the other side of the planet. So anyway, that is the plan, 2027, just so you know. Yeah, more optimism. We pay for your optimism, Ken. More optimism. Okay. Well, my optimism is every team's suffering injuries at the moment. Yeah. And John Merrill, it's all lies. He has already asked me about Birmingham tickets. Well, I am a Birmingham member. No, I'm not. I am a Wrexham member and a true Wrexham fan. But I would love to go if I could, if it works out, and I could go to a Wrexham v Birmingham game at Birmingham. I will sit with John Merrill if he gets me a ticket beside him in my Wrexham jersey, just for fun. And I'll say, this guy's actually a Wrexham fan with me, but he wasn't game to wear the kit. just to watch him squirm. Just to watch him squirm. And John, the link is in the Discord if you want to come in and have a chat. But yeah, I think it's very funny. So yeah, I could happily sit anywhere in my Wrexham kit. So I'm more than happy to do that. So there's the table. Looking very interesting at the moment, all the way down the bottom. Obviously, United and Wednesday having that game this weekend. So there's going to be some pretty interesting games. Obviously, I think Birmingham's going to do a number on Norwich, and I'd love to know what John thinks about that. I've tipped a pretty big win for them. I'm really looking forward to Leicester at home to Stoke. And I'm looking forward to us travelling to Ipswich. It's going to be a true test. They're a good team. And, you know, big YouTuber out there, Benjamin Bloom, this is his team. And I'm sure he's hoping that they can do the number on Wrexham. So I can't wait to see that. And I really, Leicester v Stoke, I think is going to be a great game. There are some good games this weekend. Where is Coventry there? Yeah, they're at home to West Brom. I think that's going to be a good game as well. I think West Brom's a little bit underrated. They haven't had some great form, but, I wouldn't be surprised to see a good turnout from them this weekend coming off the international break. So, yeah, lots to happen. So let's get into, we always seem to be crap after the break, Danny D. You're right. But you just can't pick it. You know, I mean, who's to say Ipswich is going to be good coming out of the break? I don't know. So it's going to be interesting. So it's going to be very interesting. I would fight me. So I don't want to fight any hooligans, Sean. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I don't want to get into a fight. I just want to go there and enjoy the game. And if we got a 1-0 victory over Birmingham, all the better. I'd probably have to be very careful leaving the stadium if that was the case. But it is what it is. So, yeah. Sean, you might, but I wouldn't. So, yeah, definitely not, Karen. You're right. No hooligan fighting. All I would want to do is say, well, we got you today, boys, and better luck next time. But, you know, I mean, look, to be honest, Birmingham have really, really looked like a team that is on the improve lately. Yes, they did lose their last game, but they've had a couple of big wins in the last, in their last half a dozen matches. A couple of 4-goal back to back. They scored 4 goals, I remember. So yeah, very well done by them. But I will now. I'll bring this down. I'm going to stop that screen. I'm going to bring the footy tipping table back up. So here it is. And let's get into the weekend's matches. So obviously the first game of the weekend is Preston v Blackburn. Preston sitting in 4th spot at home to Blackburn, who are all the way down in 19th. Now, I have tipped this weekend. I've already done my tips, so let's have a look at what I've done here. I've got them in here. I've tipped a 2-1 win to Preston. Haven't really tipped many big results this weekend, just letting you know. And I see this guy in here, Josh, never heard of him. This guy's banned from the channel now because he's trying to get rid of Harry Ashfield. So he's been banned. Guys, you'll never see Josh Anthony again. Actually, no, you will. He's on a 4-match ban. However that works out. So today's 1, tomorrow Tactical Fortitude 2, game day build-up 3. Oh, no, we'll call it a 3-match ban because he has to be there for the watch-along. So, yeah. So, anyway, that's all good. All good. Preston at home to Blackburn. I'm tipping a 2-1 win to Preston. Then we get into Bristol v Swansea. Now, Bristol, obviously sitting at the moment all the way up in 8th place on 23 points, although their last 3 games is a draw and 2 losses. And at home to Swansea, who have had as well 2 losses and a draw. So not great form from either one of these teams. So coming out of the break, though, at home, I have tipped a Bristol 2-1 win. So, yeah, and Bruce McFarlane, hashtag save Harry Ashfield. He's not going anywhere, people. I'll tell you why he's not going anywhere. It's because he's so young and he's a free. And, to fire back at Josh's argument about sending him out on loan, we've got a free player there. If we've got injuries, we've got a free player we can put on the bench that doesn't count on our 25. So why would you send him away, especially when you look at all the injuries that we're getting lately? So no. Here we go. Hey, Ken, Sports News has reported that Wrexham's new stadium will be called the Dragon's Den Stadium and Sports District. Is that true? And if so, what are your thoughts on the new name? Well, I don't know that it will be called that because money talks in today's football world in terms of stadiums. Probably end up being a sponsored name. When you look at the rest of the stadiums, I'd be very surprised if it's not named something like the local Pundit Stadium. So my thoughts are that probably won't be the case, but I could be wrong, and that report may be true. What I do know is everything's moving along very nicely. The piling's happening, as we know at the moment, which is great. So, we've got probably a couple of weeks of piling, to be honest. It takes that long to do all of those. But once they're done, then we get to start to see the sexy stuff because slabs get poured and then the stadium starts to get erected. Things start to go out of the ground and vertical. And once that starts happening, it really looks like things are moving a lot quicker. So I'm really looking forward to that. Bruce McFarlane, come on, Bristol, take out the Swans. Well, interesting. We'll see if that happens. Bruce. We'll see if that happens. Next up, we have Charlton at home to Southampton. Now, Charlton, definitely the team batting above their average, and well done to them. I tip my hat to them. Obviously, sitting in ninth spot, we've actually pushed them out of the playoff zones with our 1-0 victory over them in their last game. And they are coming up against Southampton, who have won their last 2 games. Now, so I do think that Southampton's starting to really find some form. And Southampton, in all fairness, are a better side than Charlton on paper. But on paper doesn't win you matches. And good old Nathan Jones, John Merrill's favourite manager of all time, I have tipped a 1-0 win to Charlton. They'll get a goal early, then they'll park the bus, and they are very hard to score against when they park the bus. So that's my tip for that match. Now, I could quite easily get that wrong, because if Southampton do score first, then they could easily win it 2-0, quite easily, because, Charlton will have to chase the game. So that first goal in that match is super, super important. It'll be interesting to see which way that goes. Then next up, we have Coventry, who obviously are top of the table on 34 points. In their last 5 games, they've had 4 wins and a loss. They only lost to us of the season. So, they obviously came up against the mighty Dragons and just couldn't quite get the job done. So well done us. But in all fairness to Coventry, well done Coventry. What a great start to the season, 15 games in, coming up against West Brom down in 14th, who did win their last game, and I think are slightly starting to turn the corner. And I've actually pretty sure, I've predicted a 1-1 draw here. I've predicted Coventry to not quite come out of the break as sharp as West Brom, and West Brom to sneak a draw away. Now, that'll be against the probably trend of most pundits for their tips, but I think that they can do it. So that's the way I've gone. That's probably, it's not an upset, but it is a bit of a surprise, I think, if that comes to fruition. Next up, we have that other guy. What's his name? John, someone, I forget his last name. Anyway, massive, massive Birmingham supporter. His team at home, 3 wins, 2 losses in their last 5 games to Norwich, who to me, in my opinion, have been the disappointment of the season so far. They have not lived up to their the quality that they have on the pitch. They haven't performed to that level. 4 losses and a draw in their last 5 matches. 9 points for the entire season. 2 wins and 3 draws out of 15 games. So that's 10 losses, people, with a -9 for and against. And I'm not tipping it to go any better for them this weekend. I have tipped a 4-1 win for Birmingham. That is my biggest result of the weekend, is that match. Next up, I have obviously our game. I might leave that to last. Let's switch over. Let's just flip over that one. Portsmouth at home to Millwall. Portsmouth all the way down in 20th place on 14 points, only 4 points out of the relegation zone, with a -8 for and against, up against Millwall, who are starting to find form and have 2 wins, 2 draws and a loss in their last 5, and are starting to right their for and against. So, and are all the way in 6 points. So they're in 6th place, but with a -3 for and against. They've taken some big spankings, but they're starting to get it back on form. And I've actually tipped them to get that 2-1 win away, which I think they will do this weekend. So not good news for Portsmouth fans, in my opinion. QPR at home to Hull. Interesting game coming up next. A draw and 3 losses in their last 4, QPR. Not great form. They'll want to, hopefully they've rectified some of their errors and some of their problems in the break. But they're at home to Hull, who are all the way up in 5th place, which is not a great game for them, with Hull having in their last 5, they've had 3 wins, a loss and a draw. So, and sitting with only a positive 2 goal difference, but, all the way up in 5th place on 25 points. And I have, again, tipped Hull another 2-1 away win, this time to Hull over QPR. Next up, Derby v Watford. Let's have a look here. We have Derby, who have had a fairly good start to the season, sitting in 10th spot, have won their last 5 games, people. That is some form. At home to Watford in 15th with 2 draws, 2 wins and a loss in their last 5. And this game, I've actually tipped a 1-1 draw. There's a Urun Kunda, who's the Australian that plays for Watford, got a lethal free kick on him. I'm tipping him to score off a free kick. Derby to obviously have an equaliser and to be a 1-1 draw for Watford away at Derby. So there you go. I've even given you who's going to score. So there you go. Oxford at home to Middlesbrough. Now, poor old Oxford, who I think will be relegated myself this season. They're one of my tips for the relegation. They're on 13 points at the moment. 3 losses, a win and a draw in their last 5. Only on 13 points. Only 1 win outside the relegation zone, with Sheffield United right behind them. But it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to go deep into the season before that's decided. But they're at home to Middlesbrough, who are sitting second on the ladder. So a very tough match for them coming out of the break. And I'm tipping Middlesbrough to really get the job done 3-1. Now, I have, besides the Ipswich-Wrexham game, which obviously as a Wrexham fan I'm very interested to see, these last 2 games are 2 of the biggest games of the weekend, in my opinion, and both for very different reasons. So, first up, we have Leicester at home to Stoke. Now, Leicester are sitting in 12th spot, obviously a way better team than that, but haven't been performing so far this season, playing 3rd place Stoke. Stoke have had a loss, 3 wins and another loss in their last 5. Leicester, a win, a draw, and 3 losses before that. But Leicester is a better team than that, so I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out. And I've actually tipped a 1-1 draw here coming out of the international break. So I've got a guest coming in soon. I might finish my tips and then bring him in. But next up, the other big game, I think, of the weekend, a bottom-of-the-table clash, 22nd v 24th. Sheffield Wednesday, bottom of the table on -4, at home to Sheffield United. 3 losses, 2 draws in their last 5 for Sheffield Wednesday. A draw, 3 losses, and a win for Sheffield United in their last 5 on 10 points. And I have actually tipped a 1-1 draw here. And then I'll move back up to our game for the weekend, Ipswich v Wrexham. Ipswich sitting in 7th place on 23, 3 wins, a draw, and a loss in their last 5. We have had 3 wins and 2 draws in our last 5. And I'm actually tipping us to go away to Ipswich and have a 1-1 draw, which I think would be a great result for us. So, yeah, we'll see how we go. But I will pull that down and I will bring in someone who has far more knowledge than me. Hey, Paddy, how you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm good.
Well, mate, I've just gone through all of my tips for the weekend.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, I've absolutely I've given Josh a 3-match ban for saying to get rid of Harry Ashfield. I had to do the math though. Today is 1 match, tactical fortitude 2nd match, game day build up 3rd match, and he's back in time for the watch along. So I fired him for saying, but I don't think we're sending Harry Ashfield out because he's a free. He's under the age limit, and he doesn't.
He's never going to play for us.
Well, you say that. How many injuries are we having?
Not in midfield, we haven't.
No, but he'll sit on the bench. Yeah, but Paddy, it's too easy to say that. I just think that.
Look, in fairness, though, yeah, there are other areas we need to build up. So having Harry Ashfield just to cover in case of problems, not the worst thing in the world.
No, that's right. Yeah. But anyway, for him to say to get rid of Harry Ashfield, that was a 3-match ban in my books. I've just called it. So anyway, no red card. Yeah. So yeah, Paddy, it's interesting. We got 10 matches between now and the new year.
They'll come quick too because most of them are double weeks.
And Ipswich and Blackburn are playing their makeup game in there. They've got 11 matches.
Yeah.
So
it'll be tough for them.
I would have loved to have played Ipswich sometime after their makeup match, but we've got them this weekend.
Yeah.
But I think, from memory, I think we do get Blackburn just before their makeup match. Bugger. Yeah, it would have been nice. So we've got Ipswich, Bristol, Blackburn, and then Blackburn play Ipswich midweek there. So yeah, interesting. There's going to be This going to be tough. Like you guys were talking about injuries. Every team has injuries.
Yeah. The problem is that we are weak in certain areas, so we have particular players that if they get injured, we're in trouble. Our depth just isn't quite there for certain positions.
I agree with you there. I think all teams have that in certain positions, but we seem to be getting the injuries in the positions that affect us most.
Yeah, well, we did early. It kept the new players out for a period, and now that the team is settled and we know who actually really improves us, they're the ones that are in trouble at the moment. It's our wingers. Simple as that. It's our wingers are in trouble. And just as you say that, Jesse has a comment up there saying that Yahoo Sports is reporting that Issa Kabor is out for the rest of the season.
Well, remainder of 2025, he says.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, we knew that. 6 weeks. That is till January anyway. Okay, that's fine.
That's right.
So no particular extra news there. But that's still not good. Obviously that's up to the window, and then we'll see what happens. Is he still potentially injured? Will we be able to keep him once he gets fit again? The problem is, I guess, it's unlikely they'll take him back and loan him to anybody else because he is coming back off injury. So either we will send him back because he's not useful to us because he has been injured and isn't ready, or he'll come back to us. So I think
go back to there for rehab, won't he, Paddy?
For rehab, of course, yes.
Yeah.
But in theory, we could also cancel his loan if we wanted to. But even if we do upgrade that spot, we would still want him, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we'd want to take him back, wouldn't we?
Yeah, and I mentioned that potentially this might be an opportunity to buy him on the cheap.
And that's it's a fair statement. I agree with you there.
Yeah, if he comes back and can cover his medicals and show his fitness is back by the January window, we could maybe go ahead and just finalize the deal for him.
Which would cost?
Would be good.
What would it cost?
Oh, I don't know. I was saying we'd need 10 million plus if he was fit and healthy and doing well for us. They'd be looking for 10 million plus. But if he's injured like this, and this is the type of injury that will come back for a lot of players, it's somewhere between 20 to 30% of players that get this injury will have recurrences of it. So that's not great in general. But I'd happily take him for less than 10 million.
How much less do you think we could? How much?
Who knows?
How much discount do you think we could get? What's the Black Friday sale going to? What are we going to get him on the Black Friday sale for, Paddy?
Yeah, I don't know. I would certainly be happy enough risking up to 10 million for him at his age profile. And
10 million a year.
A year? What do you mean a year?
No, you mean 10 million of just as a transfer
fee. Yeah, transfer fee. Yeah. You can't talk about wages.
Okay. Interesting. I have to put more thought into that. I haven't put a lot of thought.
But I would still want to be trying to upgrade him in that position anyway. So if you had Kabori fighting with someone else.
What do you think in January? Two wingers and a forward, or two wingers and a centre?
Oh, I'd love two wingers. I absolutely would love two wingers. Yeah,
two wingers,
one for each side. Yeah.
And anyone else? Another, just two?
I think we're going to bring in three.
Me too.
I think that's our limit. I think that's our limit for January. But I still think we're not happy in defence. Our defensive line isn't completely set and built with reserves.
Again, the injuries. Brunt, Doyle, if either one of those guys had no injuries for the season, I think they would absolutely have, either one of them would have that spot cemented down.
Yeah. But we don't even have perfect cover for Max on the right.
No, but you're right. Actually, you're right. I was going to say he's a golden child, but in fairness to Max, he has stepped up each season.
He has, and the thing is, at the moment, the way we're trying to improve, I really want them to bring in players who are obviously better than what we have in every position. I don't think we are in a position yet that we're bringing in people at a like-for-like level and saying, right, guys, duke it out. We're not there yet. So I would want to be pulling in someone who is at the very minimum, like on Kakache's level, and having him fight that out. And I would like to say similar in other positions. So is Maxi top end championship level? I would say no. Would he be there
mid-level? I'm going to say mid-level at the moment.
Mid-level, yeah. Could he be there by the end of the season? Yes, and I hope so.
Yeah, I think so.
But if we have difficulty in finding someone, but the right person comes in for that position, I would upgrade Max. # save Max. I know. But this is not just a Max conversation. This is kind of a backline conversation, and for Brunty especially, because he's now injured.
Yeah, and see, Brunty could be on the same trajectory as Max without the injuries, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's very hard. And then obviously going down Paddy's mindset of getting in like better players, that then applies pressure to the whole squad. It then applies, it then means that the squad has to get used to that player playing with them, and so on and so forth. But, to be fair, we're sitting in, what are we sitting in 13th? Squad has to get better because 13th isn't in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. And the problem now is if we are losing both wingers, or at least for a significant period of time between now and January, because obviously Kakache may not be out for a lot of that period. Hopefully he stays healthy and fit. But if he's not, if he has breaks and periods during that, where might we be at Christmas? Because I was looking extremely positive. We're on the up. The team is stabilizing. We're fighting it with the other teams. I was expecting a nice run up till January now and hoping that we would actually be really close to the playoffs. But these injury concerns are a worry. They really could mess everything up. But at the same time, the opposite is also true. We might just find other ways of playing. I'm not saying that it's the end of days just because some players are out. We might find ways around it, and we have before. So it's not all doom and gloom, but it's not a good situation.
Well, I mean, I didn't think we were going to make the playoffs at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And I want us to, but I just didn't think we'd quite get there. And I hope I'm wrong. But if we do, then great. We've got a chance. Yeah. If we don't, well, then obviously we build in January, we build again in the off season. And I absolutely believe if that's the case and we don't make the playoffs this year, I absolutely believe we will make the playoffs next year.
I would like us to make a run for the playoffs at some point this season and getting inside the playoffs for a period, even if it's only 1, 2, 3 matches, but actually physically getting up as high as 6th position or better for a couple of matches, just to kind of prove we can get up there, even if we end up sliding back and don't finish there. But I do think they're going to go reasonably big this January. But January always depends on what players are available. I don't want them to go big just for the sake of going big. If the right players aren't there, I prefer them to just hold off and save the money. For me personally, I don't want them to bring in similar level of players to players we know we're going to have to replace in the next 12 months, 18 months, that they're in the team at the moment, but they're on the periphery for being upgraded in the near future as we keep strengthening the squad. I don't want to have more players that just add to that list that will do a job for a year. And then all of a sudden we're talking about, okay, we need an upgrade on them to make the team better.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So in saying that then, Paddy, like who starts on the wings this weekend? Who do you think is going to be our starting wingers?
Kakache
Longman, Barney on the bench.
Yeah.
Macca on the bench.
Macca on the bench, 2 of them. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Jesse's comment here, Paddy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ken and Paddy. With 2 T's. You're a Paddy, not a Paddy now. But that's okay.
No problem.
You can call us whatever you want. We don't care. With Wrexham climbing the league and gaining respect, attracting quality players to cover injuries shouldn't be a problem like it has been in previous years. Yes.
But that's the problem. That's not the level of player I want.
Yeah, you want a player that's going to be. Look, you want to bring in like Hyam. You want to bring in like Sheep. You know. I get that, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
Because that just keeps raising the bar.
Yeah, we can buy in players just to cover injuries. I don't see a problem with that in general. Now, if that was what we need to do, I would do it a different way personally, and I would take it as an opportunity to buy a unproven youngster. That's what I would do.
Okay.
If you can't get someone that is an absolute upgrade, I would prefer to spend the money on a young player that, given another year, may be better and has a much higher ceiling.
Unproven youngster, like Harry Ashfield.
Yes, like a Harry Ashfield. But of course,
I'm here for you, Harry. I got your back, buddy.
But in the other positions as well, from some other team, of course. Now, I would like to say preferably better than Harry Ashfield. I'd like someone who's on the cusp of
what are they going to cost?
Being fantastic. Oh, look, the price is a separate thing. I don't mind, not my money, but I don't mind spending 5-6 million on someone who is almost there.
Hang on,
that is.
You should have finished that sentence with, "I don't mind spending 5-6 million of Robin Ryan's money."
Yeah. But like, you're talking 3 million plus to be getting any youngster in at the kind of levels we want, because you do want them to be able to play in the championship. If they are doing injury cover, they still need to be able to do a job at the moment. Even if they're raw, even if they're not perfect, they still have to have some underlying skills there that show you that once they put everything together, they can be a top talent. So at the moment, that's not Harry Ashfield.
It's a little bit unparky-like, though, isn't it?
Oh, it is, but we'll have to start doing it at some point.
Oh, I agree.
It might be the time to
you look at the age of some of these best players in the Prem, and globally, like football players.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, the progression of our club. I mean, we've sort of gone through the leagues quicker than our infrastructure has been able to keep up with it. But that's okay. Like, the infrastructure is catching up, and that plan's in place, and that's all happening.
Yeah.
So it just means that there's probably going to be a couple of speed bumps along the way in the next couple of years somewhere.
There is, and I will say we've already had one, and that is Fal. I think last year, Parky showed willing by buying in Fal for what at the time was our record signing of near enough 700k for a young, unproven talent that he was hoping to train up into like maybe a Palmer role or a hybrid of the Palmer role. And it just didn't work.
He was learning well of Fletcher, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, but was
I'm
he
not,
ultimately?
I don't think he cut the mustard. I'm just saying he was getting that, he was learning, and he was starting to come forward as a player.
And if we had stayed in League One, then he probably would have had that time to build with us. And he needed that other season before coming up to the championship. The second we came up to the championship, it was absolutely Fal can't stay with us.
If you're going to get stuck in a league, this is the league to get stuck in.
You're stuck in, yeah. And here's the thing: if we bring in a young talent, because preferably I would like them to be 19. I would like to be able to get 2 years out of them, without needing them to be in the squad, so that they can be extras, so that they can bulk up our entire squad potentially, and give us flexibility in other spots. So if you do that, and you end up in the championship where we go playoffs, and lose them all, or it takes the third year before maybe that third year we actually hit the top two. Because the one thing that's potentially a problem with this league, and it can just randomly bite you in the ass, is you can put your team together, have a fantastic team, but the teams that come down from the Prem with all their money and resources, they revamp their team, they change it up, and then they absolutely whack you for a season. And the top two automatics are just gone.
Well, they typically do. They haven't this season.
Well, yeah, they kind of do in general, but I expect to be somewhere near that level with our team given another 2 seasons. You know what I mean? At that point, we absolutely will be around that spot.
I agree.
Like a Sheffield United, they got really close, but they messed up in the last couple of weeks with a few bad results in a row, and they ended up like 10 points off it.
Yeah, and they're doing great now. They're in 22nd.
But but that season they were an amazing team, and by general standards, you would say they deserve to go up. Yeah, as far as deserved, it doesn't. Nothing is deserved. It's you get what you get. And so like if we bring in a youngster and we do stay here for a couple of seasons, hitting the playoffs, then they have time to grow with us. And that player that we brought in for 5 or 6 million could be worth 30 million by the time we actually win and get up to the Prem.
And doing what you're talking about, Paddy, bringing in a 19-year-old into League One is a lot cheaper than bringing in but it's also more of a punt than bringing in a 19-year-old into the championship, because that 19-year-old is probably showing for the championship is probably already showing some star quality. Yeah.
And another thing to consider there as well is if we bring in a 19-year-old, let's just pick a figure, and we spend 4 million on him. And we get 2 seasons of he's not part of our squad, so he's an extra. If it turns out that he's not quite good enough to break into our team as a starter because we want to be top-end championship, there's no reason we can't sell him on to another championship team and get 8 million.
I would say it would go the other way. You'd get 2 million. And
no. Not if they're a championship. Not if they're a championship player. I mean, they're good, but they're not good enough for us.
But if he's worth 8 million, he's good enough to keep.
Not necessarily.
Well, you're talking
depending on who we have.
You're talking about a seriously good squad if you're selling a player for 8 million.
Okay, let's just reduce that. Let's just say break even. Get rid of him for 4. We've had him for 2 seasons. We got use out of him, and he still stays in the championship. He just goes to a different team.
And that makes total sense. And I've got no problem if he didn't work out and we could only sell him for 2 million and it was a $2 million failure. Yeah. I mean, to me, that's the cost of doing business.
Exists, absolutely.
So but I mean, look, because I think if he's worth 8 million, well, then he's definitely at least in and around starting on your bench. So that's not the sort of player I think you'd get rid of.
But you have to remember as well, like the age profile does come into factor here. Is a lot of younger players, they're valued higher even though they're not as good, because other teams will also take the punt. So let's say he's 2 years potential. He's 2 years with us. He has sat the bench. He has played some matches. He looks okay, but we brought him in before he had championship experience at 19. Now we have proven to everybody else he can play championship.
But he's no longer free on their squad.
He's no longer free on their squad, but he's still only 21.
Yep.
And there are teams that have been here for 10 years. They might want a young player like that can stay with them for 5 years in the championship and develop and build and maybe become one of their stars. So value in age as well is also a thing there.
Yeah, I'm just reading Paul Kelly's comment there. Who would sign for us unless you were guaranteed to play in Parky's system? We have signed players for big money and we aren't playing them. Well, Paul, my response to that would be no one's guaranteed of playing when they're signed. No one is guaranteed. yes, you think you're good enough, and players back themselves. But then on top of that, my counter argument to that is, well, do I want to go to a guy that got back-to-back promotions, 3 promotions in a row, and has great ownership, a solid structure within the whole club? You're not just looking at the manager when you're a player. Like, let's just say, and I'll pick a really terrible scenario, like for someone like Lampard, goes and signs for Sheffield Wednesday as their manager. Well, Lampard's a great manager, but Sheffield Wednesday is a club in a whole heap of trouble. So you don't want to go there. It's not just the manager they look at. You got to look at the whole. You got to look at the whole club.
I agree with you on all those points. I will back Paul Kelly up just a little bit though, in that this is not something that you want to get known for. It's not good to be bringing in top end or higher end players and all of a sudden they're just not working. Now we haven't really had it previously, so it's okay. It has happened now, but you don't want it to happen again and again. Then it can look like a problem. But what you will probably find at the moment is if a player has seen this and is maybe unhappy with it just as a general rule, they'll ask about it. They get their meeting with Parky and they get to discuss everything with them. And anybody who has a little bit of balls in themselves will turn around and kind of say to Parky, okay, I'm really looking for a solid starting position here. I'm good enough for this team, but can we talk about this player or that player? What happened here? Why? How did they get locked out or frozen out, or what happened? Yep. You can ask and question that if you think it's an issue.
Yep. Totally on board with that.
And let the manager explain to you reasonings that nobody else knows.
Yeah.
And
I could see. I'll come back to you, Sean, in a sec. I think Moore was guaranteed playing time. I could understand that may have been the case because Moore totally fits Parky's style. Big man up front.
Yeah, Moore is an interesting one, but considering he was on reducing minutes with Sheffield United, a lot of people were considering him to be a very expensive backup who would come on in the last 30 minutes, our super sub. And it didn't turn out that way. Now, I did say to John, when John was saying how bad he is and he didn't rate him as such, I said he was perfect for Parky's system. But I'm still worried that we haven't got a secondary system without him.
Yeah, me too. I want a secondary style system. Absolutely, Paddy. I'm with you on that. And we'll get into that point. Sean saying there's close to 30 players that are 20 or under in the Premier League. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're earning a half decent living. But I think that Broadhead's time is coming. I think your opinion, like they just haven't found the right fit. Broadhead and Windass, is Windass has had games where he's looked amazing. He's had a couple of games where he's looked really ordinary too, though. And Broadhead, I think, is a little bit more consistent than Windass, but I think Windass seems to have a slightly higher ceiling in sometimes when he plays. That's what he's shown so far compared to Broadhead. Broadhead maybe hasn't quite shown that yet, but I think Broadhead's time's coming.
Yeah, I think Windass is slightly more comfortable with the defensive duties. He'll work his ass off as well. Not that Broadhead is particularly lazy, but maybe he's not as used to it. Maybe he's just used to being more of an attacker. But I did believe that Broadhead, because it was difficult to place what he would do for us, I do believe Parky is trying to alter the squad into other formations. And for me, I was considering the idea that it might take until January, until we get another couple of players in, for him to be comfortable to actually swap formations. And because it took him a long time to get to do the 3-5-1-1. He stuck with it. And it was one of those, wasn't working. And it took the January window to actually get the players in he wanted that were able to play it. Now, I think this season he tried it earlier and decided he can't do it yet. So I think he has kind of abandoned it earlier, whereas he started it later last season to change the formation a bit and tweak it. And he had Lee in there, and Lee couldn't play the role that he wanted. And it just did not work until the January window. And then after January, it started to work. Now, the danger here is I'm starting to think that he won't be able to do it after January either. Because now with some of the injuries and some of the problems we have, he might actually need to be filling in other spaces that he was hoping have already been completed. So I don't know that he has enough space to actually bring in the players he might want for that formation. So I worry for Broadhead kind of for the second half of the season if he can't play a new formation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting times ahead, definitely. Jesse, hey guys, I believe the Wrexham recruiting team is already reaching out to Premier League clubs to see which players. And Jesse, absolutely. Yeah. They'd be well into that. The Prem will be looking at players that just aren't going to get minutes and going, well, we need to send these guys out. You get, teams close by. You get Man U, you get Liverpool, these teams that are close and get them loaning players out to you. That is the one geographical advantage that Wrexham has where we sit to those two clubs specifically.
Yeah, we do have some really big clubs in the north, and a lot of other clubs are further down. They're closer to London, so they might like to work in the capital area, whereas there's only so many big teams up north. So otherwise, the youngsters have to travel further away, be away from home or whatever. For some people, they don't care. Some people want to be down in the city. They want to be away when they're young with all their money or whatever. Other people, are still focusing on their football. And they want to be comfort, ease, and just focused on their career. But of course, the Prem teams who kept players that they were slightly unsure about have now decided that they're not in their team. They're not going to make it, and they know pretty much now who is not going to be needed for the next half of the season.
The answer to that question, Paul, is yes.
Yes, and within reason they can demand it, but at the same time, it's never an absolute guarantee. The situation is they will say what their expectations kind of are, and then you need to try and fulfill it. If you don't fulfill it without legitimate reason, such as injuries or poor play, then you can ruin a relationship with that club. And that's what you don't want to do for the long term either.
But right out of my mouth, Paddy.
Yeah, but it is a legitimate thing to turn around and say to the parent club, I didn't play him because he's crap. That is fair. Now, obviously,
training.
Well, not even that. Leaving aside that negative stuff, they just may not be good enough. So if you actually play them, if you give them the minutes after having trained them and brought them into the team through training, you put them out there and they just can't do the work. It just doesn't work for them. Then they get benched, and you say it to the club. They got their shot and they just weren't good enough. I sat them for a match or two, and who I thought they should be replacing just out of nowhere found form. So they became undroppable kind of in this scenario, like a Scar. You might have brought in a player to replace Scar, and then all of a sudden he's not available. Scar goes in, does a job, and keeps doing it and keeps doing it. You could have that scenario with a lone player at some point, but the only lone player we took is absolutely the number one in his position. So unless he's injured, he's going to be there.
Very interesting. But so I think we've covered off a lot of topics here today, Paddy. I've been here for an hour. I'm thinking, unfortunately, I have to get back to work, but that's just the reality. Life is busy at the moment, which is fine. Is there a game this weekend? I did just see in the Discord you'd put in your footy tips. I've added them into the table. And, in good news for you, you are in second place in the footy tipping at the moment. I'm going to keep claiming this lead for as long as I can.
Climb.
I'm going to keep claiming this lead. I'm hanging on.
You don't want to climax too early.
Yeah. So, no. But is there a game this weekend that really excites you?
2 Sheffields.
Yeah.
I think the 2 Sheffields could be a fun watch.
Really interesting, because then obviously just above them we have Port like Oxford's playing Middlesbrough, like who's in second place. So I'm tipping Oxford to get beat this weekend. Now, even if it's a draw, like if Sheffield United win, that'll still leave them in 22nd because their for and against is terrible. But it would get them equal on points, even if they just get a draw and they're only 2 points behind Oxford United. And then Portsmouth are at home to Millwall, who I think my opinion is Millwall will get the job done as well. So that bottom of the table, I think, will tighten up a bit more.
Yeah. For us, this is a really interesting match. Obviously, it's an away match, isn't it?
We're away. Are you talking about Ipswich and now us?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we're away to Ipswich, which is
away to Ipswich, a good team. They're on the up at the moment. They want to get back into the playoffs. But it's the type of team that we often raise up to. So I am hopeful but realistic. This will be a tough match. I would be quite happy with a draw on this one.
I notice you've tipped us for a win, Paddy.
I will. Yeah.
I'll tip the draw, but I want us to win. I hope you're right.
Yeah, it's heart over head with this one. I don't think statistically we should be winning this match. However, there is a chance, and like I say, this is one of those potentials. I had faith with Coventry. If everybody remembers,
statistics be damned, Paddy.
Yeah, I was kind of okay. I was bigging it up a little bit, you know what I mean? But yeah, I was interested in the idea that we could
tipped a 3-0 win, Paddy, of Wrexham over Coventry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just going back and looked at it then. Yeah, well done you.
So this is the type of match we win. It is. This is the type of match we win. Now, it is away from home, so look, that doesn't help sometimes. But our away form has not been terrible this year.
No, away form's been pretty good.
So I remain hopeful. I would actually be comfortable with a draw, but I think there's a shot in there that we can come out fighting here and have a go.
I'll tell you what, if we do get the win, I don't think we'll jump Birmingham because they'll I think they're going to do a number on Norwich. But what it will do, guaranteed, will definitely close the gap to the top 6.
Yeah.
It'll just get tighter. There'll be still all the teams there.
Yeah.
It'll be tighter.
Do you know what, though? That's another match I am interested in. Birmingham could be a banana skin. This really could be a step up. Probably not. It's not an amazing percentage, but this is the type of match where things can go wrong. Norwich, after just bringing in their new manager, the players the players trying to show off, trying to gain a spot in the first 11. These things happen sometimes.
Yep, they do. You're right. Okay. Well, I think we might call it stumps for the day, Paddy. I do have to get. I'm just realizing how much I got to do. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no problem.
Been a good chat. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Obviously, can't wait to get back into footy again.
Yes.
But I guess, guys, enjoy the rest of the week. We got so tomorrow we've got Tactical Fortitude. Then next day we will have, obviously, well, it sort of goes into, for me, the next day is the start of the game. So it's another day for everyone else, I think. So there may be a breakfast club the following day. But beyond that, I think we're getting ready for the weekend. So if you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. If you haven't told 5 friends, get your Amway hat on and go tell 5 friends who'll tell 5 friends. Let's get those subscriptions up. And on that bombshell, we'll see you all again soon.
Take care, everyone.